Climate change is defined by the American Meteorological Society as any systematic change in the long-term statistics of climate elements sustained over several decades or longer. As we've seen even in recent decades, climate change will impact people and the national and global economy in various ways. The impact of climate change will naturally vary for all depending on where they are located throughout the globe. However, there are a few examples that could be given in which humans could directly be impacted. This could include home destructions, possible mass migrations, and one's physical and or mental health. Climate changes that have led to massive floods and other unforeseen events throughout the country have been known to destroy countless numbers of homes and communities. Some states even require you to pay certain home protection such as flood insurance, etc. due to the rise of these incidences. Hurricane Katrina is a good example of an entire community destroyed by an intense storm surge in which more than 850,000 homes were destroyed or damaged. And this number is specifically based on homes and doesn't even include the 1,300 plus people that FEMA estimated died due to this climatic event. A possible mass migration is also an example of how climate change can impact people specifically. According to the National Academy of Sciences, the planet could see a greater temperature increase in the next 50 years than it did in the last 6,000 years combined. They also warn us that by 2070, extremely hot zones such as the Sahara, that now covers less than 1% of the Earth's land surface, could cover nearly a fifth of the land. People will have no choice but to migrate to other areas on the Earth, where the climate has not made as big of an impact, at least yet. But last but not least, as it's all greatly connected to this example, climate change could have a significant impact on a person's mental and physical health. Those who have been through traumatic events, including climatic events, are known to have more anxiety and have been diagnosed with depression due to all the negative impact the climatic change has made in their personal life. This could be the loss of their house, their crops, or even more. Climatic change will drastically affect national economies, specifically the United States, in various ways, as shown already in recent decades. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, defines gross domestic product as the standard measure of the value added created through the production of goods and services in a country during a certain period. According to the Climate Impact Lab, the United States economy could stand to lose between 1 to 4% of GDP annually by the end of the century through effects to mortality, labor, and the energy sector alone under a high emissions scenario. Climate change will also have a negative effect on agriculture in general in the national economy, as in any abnormal weather changes within an area, as we've seen throughout the United States, affects agriculture productivity or the development of those crops. This includes temperature increases and precipitation patterns, for example. This would then in turn have an impact on food prices, because as food becomes more unavailable and scarce due to the weather and its damaging effects, prices would naturally go up to the population in an effort to balance out all that has already been lost. How will climate change affect the global economy? Climate change has and will continue to affect the GDP throughout the globe. According to Merchant, new research theorizes that the global economy could lose 10% of its total economic value by 2050 due to climate change. This has been analyzed using the Climate Economics Index, which provides an educated estimate on how climate risks will impact 48 countries that represent 90% of the world economy. As any situation, even outside of climate change and global warming, some countries will be affected more, depending on various circumstances. For example, certain Asian countries would be most affected by climatic change and would be exposed to physical risks, or more at least. Some of these countries may include Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, possibly Thailand, as these are economically known to have less resources than more wealthy Asian or prosperous Asian countries, and therefore would have a harder time adapting to a sudden change of the climate, such as effects from global warming. The Swiss RE Institute advises that climate change could wipe off up to 18% GDP off the worldwide economy by 2050 if global temperatures rise by 3.2 degrees Celsius, which is only 37.76 degrees Fahrenheit, if you think about it. Although these numbers and estimates from researchers sound far, 2050 is actually only about 28 years away. And to have almost 20% of our goods and services as a global economy exhausted is an eye-opening thought that should be taken into serious consideration as we humans continue to destroy the planet.